Well, it was 1974, as we said. 16, just sort of left school. I was playing in a band. The sort of four of us were in a van in Blaenavon, sort of about 6 or 7 o'clock, I would think. Got some chips, because it was that time of day, and we decided to drive up to the top of the Foxhunter, which was a local spot where people go to sort of look at the views. Got up there, sat in the van, eating chips, summer's evening.
What sort of time?
I'd say it was about sort of 6 or 7 o'clock. It was.
So still light?
It's still light. It's a summer's evening. You can still see off into the distance, right across to the horizon, you know.
Right, because here in the valleys, sometimes you've got no visibility because of the cloud. Other times it's so it was clear day.
It was a beautiful day.
Right.
Clear blue skies, sun was still sort of shining, and we were sort of making plans for our future with the band. So we were sat just talking. Wayne, who was a little bit older than us, was the driver. He decided that he needed to sort of get out of the toilet and get out of the van and go to the toilet in front of the van, you know, which he'd done. Got back in the van. We had a row of spotlights on the front of the van, typical sort of band van in those days. And some sheep came up, so we sort of flashed the lights to frighten them off. And when the lights was flashed, I immediately seen a bright, what I thought was a star in the sky. And I took a closer look at it, and then there was another one alongside it, and all this sort of happened in a couple of seconds. I said, "Oh, I said two stars across it," to Simon, who was sat in the back of the van. Simon pointed his head around, and at that point we could see what was a cigar shape, and there was 4 lights in there. So we were all wondering what this was.
So just to interrupt you there, Jeff, the 4 lights in a row.
Yeah.
So you could actually see some structure behind the lights as well, could you?
Yeah, there was the cigar shape, and within that cigar shape you could see the sort of 4 lights, which we knew were lights at this point.
Okay.
We all decided to get out of the van and have a closer look. By the time we'd got out of the van, the craft was over us. It was a circular craft, and it was about the size of a football field from memory. We were just in awe of it. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. And one of the things that struck me was how fast it had come across from that distance, because I think you can sort of see about 25 miles to the horizon with no interruption. So it had travelled all that distance by the time we got out of the van. We were looking up at it. There were some sort of pylons to the right hand side of us. We'd made our way across there because that's where it was above us there. At this point I thought there were like lights running around the outside of it, I could see. And then Wayne got back in the van and tried to start the van, but the van wouldn't start. And then what happened was something from the centre of the craft came out and dropped down into what was the lower car park. Now I didn't know what it was at this point because it was somewhere I'd never been, but Simon was living in the area. I said to him, "What's down this thing?" And he said, "Oh, it's just a lower car park." He said, "It's just a dingle down there." So at this point, this craft shot off and went towards Abergavenny, but didn't build up speed, no sound off it, just went and it was gone. And this other craft was down in the bottom now.
So something came out of the larger
craft,
field-sized craft. Okay.
When this craft shot off, the main one, the van started, and Wayne was shouting to us to get in the van and go. He wanted to go, and I said, "I'm going down there." I said, "I've got to know." Even though I was frightened, I was absolutely petrified what I'd seen. I had to go down and have a look to see what was down there. And I said to Simon, "How far is it to walk?" He said, "We can walk it. It's no problem." So Simon said he was coming with me, and then there's another boy with us, Yucca. He was the other boy in the band. He said, "I'm coming with you too," which left Wayne on his own. And then I think Wayne sort of realised that he was sort of the oldest one of us and he had to look after us and what have you. I think that's what it was. He agreed then to take us down. So we got in the van and we went down to the bottom car park. When we got down there, we parked the van, got out, and we could see this smaller craft that had come out, and it was like as if it was scanning the area.
So how high off the ground would it have been?
Well, at this point it was dark. It was getting dark, so it was difficult to see. I couldn't make out where the dingle was in comparison to where the craft was.
Right, but by the time you'd got down to this place, it had got dark.
It was getting dark because all you could see was like this light it looked like a light underneath the craft, and the craft was sort of scanning back and forth. And this went on for quite some time.
Did you get any impression of the shape of the craft?
Just circular again, I think.
Circular, okay.
Yeah.
And size? Obviously smaller than the larger
Yeah, a
one.
lot smaller. Very difficult to say, to be honest.
Big enough for someone to be in it?
Yeah, I'd say that was possibly the case, because when it came out of the craft, it looked to be sort of maybe sort of 12 to 15 feet in diameter, I think.
So let's just go back to the larger craft. So there was some daylight at this point when it's come and hovered right over the top of you.
Yeah.
So what was the underside of it like? You say it was circular, the size of a football pitch, but can you give some detail of lights and texture?
There was lights around the outside of it, but the underside of it was all dark. It was all sort of like black.
Right.
I couldn't see any definition of what was there.
Right.
But again, it was, when we saw the main craft, there was a light sky, so it wasn't like it was black at this point. It was a light sky and it was a dark craft, but there was lights running around the outside of it.
And can I just ask, were they rotating or were they still? Can you remember?
They were running around.
So there was some movement of the...
There was some movement of light,
okay.
there was.
Yeah.
But no sound.
Right.
And as I say, when it took off, it didn't sort of build out, so it just went, and it was gone. And the moment that craft went, the van started. But when we were down in the bottom there, this thing looked like it was scanning the dingle. But as I say, because it was dark at this point, I couldn't make out how far off the ground it was. But I had this impression or this feeling that this craft was coming back behind us, the main one.
How close did you get to that thing that was scanning the land?
Difficult to say. We were in the bottom car park. We couldn't go any further because it was a dingle. We couldn't see.
So it's not changed that area any?
I don't think so. I mean, I haven't been up there for I don't know how many years.
Right. So you didn't wait until this smaller craft still there when you left?
It was still there when we left. Yeah.
Right. And
I tried to get Wayne to go back, because once I knew there was a car behind us, I wanted to see what the outcome of this was.
Right.
But Wayne wasn't having any of it. I'm going.
Right.
So I then persuaded him to go to the local pub where my two older brothers were, and tell them about it. And when we got there, a friend of theirs wasn't surprised that we'd seen this craft. And they named Richie Havens, and he said he wasn't surprised at what we'd seen, because all the locals had sort of seen different lights in the sky and different sorts of goings on, you know. And he also said that up here somewhere there's a magnetic field, and he said that it was his thoughts that they were attracted to that for some reason.
All right. You don't know why he thinks that, or you just something.
He seemed, because to start with, I was a little scared of him, because I thought that maybe he was sort of taking the mick out of us a bit, but he wasn't. He was quite serious that he'd had lots of friends who told him about different stuff going on up here, lights in the sky and that sort of thing.
Location itself, do you know anything significant about it? I mean,
Well, certainly interesting landscape, and it's well secluded. So if a craft was down in that dell, it wouldn't be picked up on radar, would it?
No, absolutely not.
Amazing how they seem to choose these remote, not far out the way, but fairly remote.
It was, I mean, from what Simon told me about it, was just overgrown sort of land. There was nothing up there of any significance, only in the fact that they called it the Foxhunter because there was a famous racehorse. And when it died, they buried it up on the mountain, and the name of the horse was the Foxhunter.
Right. And what about the other members of the band? I mean, are they still in the area?
Simon was sort of my age. Simon and I first met when we were about 11 or 12, playing in bands. He played guitar, I played drums, and we've been friends sort of ever since, really. But as life sort of moves on, you move on, you sort of you split up and you go your separate ways.
I mean, if we can't meet any of them, if you could get an email statement from them without actually feeding them your story.
Right, I'll do that.
Right, okay.
Because I've spoken with Simon a couple of nights ago, and he sort of, because I spoke to him about it a few years ago when I played in a band with him, and he didn't want to talk about it at that time. He just said, I don't want to talk about it.
Really?
Yeah. And Wayne, the oldest guy, he was the same. I mean, for the following day, he just did not want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I spoke to Simon recently because I knew that this was going to happen, and he was sort of more open to
Right.
willing to talk about it, you know.